Welcome back to the news at 10. The annual August Women's Summit in the eastern part of Nigeria has taken place in Awka, the Anambra State capital. The event is seen as a powerful tool for peace building and development of the zone, as well as a purposeful socio-political strategy of maintenance of identity amongst the Igbo women. The focus this year is on welfare, progress and improvement of women, children and the physically challenged.
Women from all over the eastern region flocked to the Women Development Center, Awka, the Anambra State capital. Among them is one man, the governor of Anambra State, Mr. Willie Obiano. Here, Mr. Obiano's wife speaks about a commitment to the Millennium Development Goals, especially the MDGs targeting education, maternal health, and women empowerment.
30 indigenous women from each community will be empowered to enable them start petty businesses in order to enhance their families.
Aside the women, 15 children and 15 physically challenged persons from various communities in the state will receive financial support for their education. For the aged, the good news is the establishment of a daycare center, which will be done in collaboration with the Ministry of Women Affairs. Governor Obiano, on his part, promises to provide a role for everybody and a place for great ideas to thrive.
Under my watch, Anambra State shall continue to expand the frontiers of excellence for Nigerian women. We shall open our doors to the endless talents of our women to flourish.
The Mothers Summit started as a state function in Anambra in 2007, and many developmental projects with grassroots impact were generated from it. Mrs. Obiano has promised to continue the positive trend through her pet project, Caring Family Enhancement Initiative. Kafi.
The people of Ogoni in Rivers State, South Nigeria, have begun preparations for the 2015 election with the demand that they be given the chance to nominate the next governor of the state. The Supreme Council of Ogoni Traditional Rulers canvassed this position at the group's mini-congress at Sakwenwa, headquarters of Thai local government area. They're insisting that they, as an ethnic group, have done so much for the development of the state and deserve to present the next governor.
This gathering was convened by the Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers of Ogoni Land in Rivers State, South Nigeria. And members of that ethnic group converged on Sakwenwa, headquarters of Thai Local Government Council, as they try to advance the development of the Ogoni people.
One central theme that has defined the Ogoni experience in Nigeria to this day is the issue of internal colonialism. The life of the Ogoni person has been defined by struggles. Those struggles have not yet ended.
For members of this ethnic group, tomorrow starts from 2015. They argue that they have been grossly marginalized and neglected, and they insist that the way forward is for them to produce the next governor of Rivers State.
Demand for the Ogoni to produce governor in 2015 is non-negotiable. We therefore seek the understanding, cooperation and support of other ethnic minorities in Rivers State. In the spirit of fair play, equity and justice, as all other ethnic groups have benefited from the Ogoni support when it was their turn.
Another critical issue raised is the alleged non-implementation of the United Nations Environmental Programme report on Ogoni land by the federal government, and they called for prompt action on the said report.
The UNEP report is a document that can tell you what is happening in Ogoni today, and anybody who is interested should get a copy of the report and read. I have circulated copies of that report to every senator in this country. We have circulated it to the length and breadth of this country. We gave copies to the United States delegation when they came here. So people all over the world are aware of what is the UNEP report. It is therefore not right to suggest that people who have already set up committees to receive the report, people who have already received the report have not read the report, and until they come and see something here, they will not know that we have a problem. I don't think that is correct.
At the end of their deliberations, they praised Governor Chibuike Amechi for his developmental strides in Ogoni land and appealed to their kinsmen to remain united and resolute towards the actualization of the quest for social, political, and economic advancement of the Ogoni people.
The federal government has agreed to offset 25 billion naira owed companies who had supplied gas to privatize independent power plants. The funds will be provided by the Central Bank of Nigeria. But the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Dezani Alison Madueke, at a press briefing in Abuja, explained that the payment of the debt is one of the measures being taken to improve electricity generation in the country. Also present at the briefing were the Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nibo, and the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele.
Inadequate gas supply to power plants has been a major challenge to the federal government's power sector reform. The independent power plants have a burden of paying hugely for the supply of gas for the plants to meet the 2014 target of 6,000 megawatts.
Finance and accounts.
It has taken an interagency collaboration to resolve the financial challenge of gas supply to the plants.
The Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the Ministry of Power, Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, and the NNPC have been working together assiduously to find a collective, lasting solution. Collectively, we have developed additional interventions that will address outstanding issues around gas pricing, fast-tracking additional gas supply development, particularly in the short term.
The Central Bank of Nigeria will also be sowing some seed by also seeing how we can also provide some form of intervention funds at concessionary prices to support their endeavor to provide power to our people and also lead to improving and growing our economy.
The federal government is paying these debts when the power plants have been privatized. This raises a question of whether subsidy has been introduced into the power sector.
All this vision is to ensure that by 2020, we have up to 20,000 megawatts of power. And then, in addition to that, energy will be going to rural areas. The Operation Light Up Rural Nigeria is on course.
Both the new price for gas and the support that the CBN is going to make are part of the cost in the industry that the new review of the existing MITO model will address. So essentially, it's part of the plan to review the losses and then always get to a more cost-reflective tariff.
The government has set a generation target of over 15,000 megawatts by the end of the year, using gas, solar, and hydro energy power plants. The federal government appears to have finally mustered the will to achieve this.
Welcome to Business News. The president of the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, that's NASIMA, Mohamed Abubakar, says economic integration among African countries will become successful through the establishment of sea links. He, however, explains that compacted vessels will be needed to help achieve the goal of a competitive link through the region via the use of seaports in Africa.
You have to start with a competitive way of moving the cargo. When you have giant vessels coming into Lagos and they have to take 3,000 containers, and you cannot ask those vessels, those huge vessels that cost large sum of money per day to take 10, 20 containers, they never import. But when you start with a smaller vessel with a dedicated berth for West African operation like the Sea Link wants to achieve, it will be competitive in that range to start small. And the cargo will develop definitely when people develop confidence in moving the cargo by sea.
Now, the Deputy Governor, Economic Policy Directorate in the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Sarah Alade, is now the new board chairman of the Financial Market Dealers Association, Dealers Quotations OTC PLC. Now, the Board of Africa Finance Corporation, AFC, has also elected her as its chairman. Also appointed into the board of directors of the corporation is Lamido Yuguda, who is Director of Reserves Management at the CBN. Dr. Alade replaces Mr. Aiwoje Aigimokwede, who retired yesterday as FMDQ board chairman. The FMDQ OTC is owned by 25 banks, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Finance Dealers Association, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It is a securities exchange for listing and trading of fixed income products and currency derivatives to offer financial security. FMDQ OTC platform, which was inaugurated on November 7, was licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission in 2012 to provide oversight on the OTC market in Nigeria. Now, interbank lending rates closed flat on Friday, trading at an average of 11.12%, the same level they closed out last week. They're expected to climb next week as more liquidity exits the banking system to fund cash reserve requirements. Now, the open buyback rate climbed to 11% from 10.75%, 100 basis points below the central bank's benchmark interest rate of 12%. Overnight placement eased to 11.25% compared with 11.5% last week. And going to the local bourse, there were only 3 days of trading this week as the federal government of Nigeria declared Monday and Tuesday public holiday to mark the Muslims' Eid al-Fitr celebrations. However, for the week in view, 1.345 billion shares worth 19.5 billion naira were exchanged in 17,075 deals. The NSE All-Share Index depreciated by 0.83% to close at 41,934.4 points, and the market capitalization also depreciated by 0.83% to close at 13.8 trillion naira. Also, the NSE sector indices depreciated during the week, with the exception of the NSE Consumer Goods Index, NSE Oil and Gas Index, and NSE Industrial Goods Index that appreciated during the week by 0.14%, 3.93%, and 0.41%. Meanwhile, the NSE ASEM Index closed flat. 27 equities appreciated in prices during the week, higher than the 26 equities of the preceding week. 47 equities depreciated in prices, lower than the 54 of the preceding week, while 126 equities remained unchanged, higher than the 120 recorded in the preceding week. Well, that will be all on business news tonight. Harriet will be back in just a moment.
Thank you, Mark. Next on the news at 10, it's medals haul for Nigeria at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland. That details on sports news in just a moment.